Hey everybody, you're watching Cat Roll Hunter, and I got myself a box of nickels. So I've pulled out the nickel cup, and I've pulled out my Lighthouse Vista nickel album, and we're gonna hunt us some nickels. Hey everybody, this is James, and you're watching my channel Cat Roll Hunter, and we've got a box of Canadian nickels. I flipped over a few of the rolls, and I'm only seeing modern nickels here, but you never know what's going to be in these rolls. Hopefully we're going to find some nickel to add to the nickel cup, and hopefully we're going to find some older stuff to add to our Lighthouse Vista album. We are currently at 89 of 119 slots filled. Lots of slots in the King George V years. You can see we've been fortunate and found two. But there's still some 40s and 50s nickels that we can find that we need to add to this album, and they could be in this box. So let's get right into this and see if we can find anything to upgrade or add to that album. So we're in that first roll, and one of the first things I want to look for when I'm hunting nickels is there any nickel, real nickel, in the box? And in this case, we found a 1975 nickel. It's not in great shape. But what this tells me is that this box hasn't necessarily been searched by somebody who's pulling out all of the nickel from the box. And all Canadian 5-cent pieces, as we might call them, were made of pure nickel from 1981 and earlier. So this 75 is going to go in the nickel cup. That's our first one there. So it means we've got some older stuff in here. Hopefully we've got some keepers, some laureate portraits, King George VI. King George V would be incredible. I found two in all of my coin roll hunting days. I'd love to add my third today. That would be really cool. And we've got lots of rolls to do it. We just have to hope that we've got some good stuff in the box. Roll number 2, and here's a real Canadian nickel. It looks to be coated with maybe maple syrup or something. Actually, I'm not going to lick it to find out, and it's pretty grungy and disgusting. At least the one half is anyway. I think I'm going to roll that one back up and send it back to the bank. Someone else can find out exactly what's on it. Roll number 7, and I've got a 1996 under the scope, and there are a few varieties you want to check out in 1996. It's all about the positioning of the 6 to the D. This is the near 6. That 6 is very close to the D. There is a relatively more scarce version, the far 6, where this 6 is positioned a little bit further down. You'll see more space between the D and the 6. The one you really want to find is the attached 6. There's a die chip that appears right here, and it's actually a far 6, but it looks like it's attached because of a die chip here, and that's the one you want to find. I've found that one before. I'll put a link up in the corner to a video where we found that really cool variety. And in fact, the one I found actually had a major die clash where above the beaver, you could actually see an impression of the queen's crown, which is pretty significant, from the other side of the coin. So all of these jewels here you can see over the back of the beaver. If you can find that one, that is a really great one to find. Roll number 10, and there is a commemorative. This is the V nickel, or Victory nickel, 2005. It bears the dates 1945 to 2005, and it commemorates the 60th anniversary of the end of World War II. And of course, if this design looks familiar, it is very similar to the V or Victory nickels that were produced during the war in the 1940s. And so it's a very familiar design for older Canadians and older coin collectors. So we're 10 rolls in, and we haven't got a whole lot here. We've got a handful of nickels for the nickel cup, but our board so far is empty. We haven't found anything truly interesting to set aside. We haven't found any BU gems. We haven't found any proofs. We haven't found any older nickels, no laureate portraits. So we're going to keep on looking. At least we know there are some at least older nickel composed nickels in here. I kind of hope that we're going to get to a hot streak here, obviously, but this shouldn't be surprising. The alloy recovery program in Canada has been operating for many years, and its sole purpose is to pull all of the more valuable metals out of circulation. So all of the nickel, all of the copper, both of which we find in nickels. Nickels from 82 were switched from nickel to copper nickel. And then again in 99, 2000, they were changed again to steel. And that's what most of what is circulating in Canada is. We want to see if we can find older stuff, because if we want to find King George V, we need to find nickel. So we're going to keep on keeping on. Roll number 12, we've got a 1977, actually a pretty nice example. I think we've got better in the album, but I wanted to just show you that there are a couple of varieties in the 77, a low 7 and a high 7. And I think this one's the low 7, but we'll take a closer peek. So here it is, 1977. It almost looks as though it might be a bit of a strike through. I can see a little depression there beside the 7. It could just be damage, actually. Like I can see some other marks here. But in any case, what we're looking at are these two 7s. And if you have it completely level, what you'll find is that the second 7 is either a low 7, and this one's the low 7. It's just a little bit lower than this one, or a high 7, in which case it's just a little bit higher than that 7. So two varieties you want to look out for in your own collection. Now, some of these varieties are a little bit hard to see just with the naked eye, and I know I have problems. I wear reading glasses when I'm doing my coin roll hunting, but that's usually not enough. Coins are really small and hard to see. If you don't have a USB microscope like this one, a go-to tool that I have been using really lately is this little magnifier. I used to use a little loop, and I just found that it was hard to sort of manage and see sometimes. But this is one you might have seen that came from my partnership with Lighthouse. So they sent me this. You can get one of these too, but it's got two lenses. It's got a 10 times magnification and it's got a 30 times magnification. It's been really, really handy, and it's got a little LED light. So if you wanted to pick up, and if I extend it all the way, you'll see that light goes on. If you wanted to pick up something like that for yourself, use the discount code that you can see on screen, CRH20, to get 20% off of your purchase at Lighthouse. Roll 15, we've got a 1990, and one of my favorite varieties to look for is the bare belly, and that's where the fur of the beaver was polished almost off completely due to some over polishing. So we'll take a peek at this. It looks pretty furry to me, but you never know. So there it is, and that's pretty much full fur. This actually happened over stages. This die would have been polished a number of times, and you can start to see a little bit of softness here. So this might have been one of the earliest ones after the die was polished. This would not be considered a bare belly by any stretch, but just gives you a sense that over time, all of this fur here just sort of disappears, and along here disappears as the die deteriorated over time, or not, maybe not deteriorated, was polished over time, and that detail was polished away. This isn't it though. Roll number 18, and I found another 1977 that's on the bottom here, but you can see that this one is now the high 7. This 7 is higher than that 7, and the one we found earlier up here, the second 7 was below that. So there you can really see the difference. Neither one of these is particularly rare or valuable, but it's two interesting varieties that you can add to your collection. Roll number 19, and we got our first nickel in the 60s. It's just a common 1966, and it's got a bit of damage on it, but we hadn't found anything that old so far. Same roll, and we've got our first foreign coin, and our first find for the board at all, actually, and it is a Denver minted 1981 United States Jefferson nickel. I'll flip it over, and we can see the Monticello building there. That's just the first find for the board. We'll add it here, our first US. We can typically find a bunch of these in here because we're quite close to the US border, and they pretty much circulate with Canadian nickels. We're in roll 20, and we found something here. We got a 2000. I already flipped it over to see that it bears the P composition mark. And so in 2000, you could find a nickel with the P and without the P. And this one is low mint. It's 4,899,000 were minted, as opposed to the 2000 without the P is minted at over 105 million. So this is a low mint, semi-key date, I'd say, in Canadian nickels, and it is a bit harder to find, or quite a bit harder to find. Well, in a hunt that has offered up relatively little so far, we've actually lucked out. We've got our second low mint 2000p of the hunt. That's pretty cool. So that hunt's going a little bit slow. I just wanted to take a moment to tell a little bit of a story. It really illustrates why we do coin roll hunting. So for those of you who do coin roll hunting, for those of you who like watching the videos, the thrill of discovery is what it's all about. Finding treasure. Sometimes you have to look through rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls of nothing, just common stuff, and occasionally find something really cool, and it makes it all worthwhile. But then every once in a while, you happen into something pretty incredible, and that's what this story is about. And what you're seeing right now is a picture of some Canadian dimes, and one of my viewers, a subscriber to the channel, a beer, got some rolls of dimes from the bank. He got 13 rolls. And this is what he found when he opened up the first roll. All of these dimes are silver. Often, if we can find one silver dime in a box, it makes it worthwhile. So this is a roll of 50 silver dimes, but that wasn't it. In 13 rolls, Abir found 657 silver dimes. And look at this. This is just a ton of silver. I see King George VI, Queen Elizabeth, laureate portraits. It's just absolutely incredible. And we'll take a look at this particular dime. Here's an example of one of the ones he found. This is a 1937. This is a first year King George VI. That's incredible. But take a look at the obverse. So a lot of these look like junk silver, but check out the detail on this coin. This coin is actually in really good condition. It looks fantastic. Look at all of the detail in the hair. You can see the definition on the eyebrow and the eye. Oftentimes coins this age are really ground down and a lot of that detail is gone. This is a fantastic coin. This probably isn't the best of the coins. 657. And if you're doing the math, 13 full rolls of dimes would be 650 dimes. So these rolls, not only were they completely full of silver, they were overstuffed. He got 7 extra dimes and they were all silver. That is really, really incredible. And there's more math we can do. 657 dimes is $65.70 in face value. And that's what Abir paid. Well, he paid $65. I guess the 7 were free. But this is the equivalent of $953.23 today in US. That's what it is in US dollars, just the melt value of the silver. And if you are in Canada and you want to figure out what that is, that's $1,292.23 in silver melt value from these rolls of dimes that he sent to the bank that just cost him $65. Absolutely incredible. This is why we do it. I've never had a score like this before, but you know what? I'm pretty certain if I continue to coin roll hunt, if I continue to get coins at the bank, I'm going to continue to find great and surprising things. And you never know. One day I might get my hoard of 657 coins just like Abir did. Incredible. Roll 35, and we're pushing through a bit of a slow hunt, but we found a commemorative. This is a 2017, and this is commemorating 150 years of Confederation. And it also features a beaver, but a very different take on it. This really features some indigenous art, and it's a really, really cool coin. Look at that, eh? 2017, 5 cent, with a different beaver on it. Well, we're in roll number 43, and I was starting to think that we were going to get skunked for older coins, and this is just the way it goes sometimes. We're going to find a laureate portrait. There is a 1964. We want to check that for the extra waterline. I don't see it. There's a die crack we might find under the designer's initials. But there is that laureate portrait, 1964. So we've at least got one. And where there's one, there could be more. So it could be in this roll or in those last few rolls. You never know. We're going to keep on looking to see if what else we could squeeze out of this stingy box of nickels. Well, what was it that I just said? Where there's one, there might be more. Same roll, and we're going to get our second 1964. This one also doesn't appear to have the extra waterline, but that's 2 1964s that we've got, in addition to our 2 2000p. That's the multi-ply plated steel. Say that 3 times fast. So, well, at least we're hitting on a cylinder, at least towards the end of this roll. Roll 44, and we're starting to find some coins now that are interesting. Here's a 1967 with that hare or rabbit on it. That's celebrating 100 years of Confederation, and that is a nice one. Roll number 46, and we're going to have a 12-sided nickel, and that's going to be an old one. It's going to be before 1963, and it's really dark on the edge, so we'll just put that down. We're going to take a peek and see what that is. And it's going to be a chromium plated steel. And it's going to be a King George VI, and that's really cool. 1952, King George VI in the box. Things are finally starting to heat up here. That's awesome. It's got some rust on it, really common for these steel coins. They get a little bit of damage and then oxidize like this, but it's really cool to find a 1952 in the box. Awesome. So that's it, 50 rolls hunted. And it looked like it might be a total skunk, but we found a few things after all. We only got one US nickel. That's pretty low for my part of the world. We also got a 1967 Confederation Commemorative. We got not one, but two of those 2000p low mint nickels. And we also got two pretty beat up 1964s. The best find of the hunt was finding this 1952 chromium plated steel nickel with King George VI. So we didn't get a lot of oldies, but we did get some cool ones for sure. Well, I hope you enjoyed that nickel hunt and album fill. We're not going to have anything for the album today. We've already got everything that we have here, including a much nicer 1952 without all the rust. But it's always lots of fun to hunt through a box of nickels because you just never know what you're going to find. And even if you have a light box today, you might have a great box tomorrow. In any case, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Give the video a like, a thumbs up if you can. That would be great. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, Cadroll Hunter, please do that now. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you again so much for watching, and we'll see you again next time. The sponsors of today's video are Lighthouse Canada and the Charlton Press. Lighthouse Canada is the leading supplier of high-quality numismatic supplies in Canada, and the Charlton Press is the leading publisher of coin and paper money catalogs and price guides for Canadian collectors. Go check out their online stores today and use the exclusive discount code CRH20 for 20% off all your purchases.